As always, I'm Hanon, and I'll always be joined by Ethan.
Hey, it's a great way to be here. I'm super excited to get into what we have to talk about today, which is Thor.
Thor, 2011.
Dude,
The first one.
Yeah, the first Thor. This is actually the start of the second half of Phase 1.
You're right.
There's 6 movies before Avengers, or counting Avengers, right?
Sure.
And then this is the 4th one. So
Awesome.
we passed that halfway marker.
Yeah.
There, yeah.
I think this being the halfway mark is pretty much a turning point for at least Phase 1, if not the whole MCU.
Yeah, and I think we can get into that later because that's like a big concept about this movie, and it's really important.
Yeah.
But just give me all the numbers. What's this movie got going for it?
So it's by Paramount still.
Paramount still.
That's the big production name that we see at the front. 2011 by Kenneth Branagh. And that's really all I got.
Yeah. So Kenneth Branagh's really interesting as like a director for this movie because he's more of like a Shakespearean, like he's done a few Hamlets, he's acted in them before. I think this is an action movie.
Yeah.
Right? But when I was trying to really sit down and thinking about it, you have Asgard, which bunch of people talking like they're from the Shakespearean time period. So that would make sense to bring in a guy that's like practically Shakespearean to come in and talk to everybody like, hey, here's how we're going to do this. Because you're all technically some sort of nobility or say he's like really high up warriors in this Norse kingdom. Like, here's how you're going to talk, right? And to kind of like workshop that. So that was a really interesting thing. Like, he's in a lot of other good movies and produced a lot of other good movies and acted in them.
Harry Potter,
Oppenheimer, The Orient Express, which is, time setter for a huge movie. But yeah, so that's just a really interesting, like, off the bat thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for Kenneth.
Good for Kenneth, man.
So we open up not with Thor Odinson in this movie.
Yeah.
We open up on Jane.
Yep.
And so I wrote down, because going into this movie, I was like, okay, so Jane is a physicist, right?
Astrophysicist.
Oh yeah. And Eric Selvig is a professor.
Yeah.
Probably, I think, also
In physics and something in that kind of range. Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And Darcy, she's a political science major.
Yeah, I remember that scene. Yeah.
And so in the she says, or Jane says, that nobody else is willing to take this test. To volunteer for 6 college credits, which I think is hilarious. Because Darcy, I think, she's definitely the comedian in this movie.
To an extent.
Yeah, I think. Who would you say is the comedian?
I think her and Thor both kind of share that.
Yeah, but I don't know if Thor ever tries to be funny.
Okay, yeah.
He's a very serious guy.
But he's funny.
He is funny, but not on purpose. No, he's not on purpose.
I know, but he's funny to the audience.
Yeah. But Darcy is definitely the comedic relief, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because and that carries over through a lot of the movies, and even as we see her in WandaVision, she's been in the MCU for a long time.
Wow.
And I really like her character, so I think it's fun.
I didn't know that.
Have you seen WandaVision?
No.
Oh well, we should get on that.
Okay.
Okay. I also have that. I want, before I mention my thoughts on this, what do you think about the music of Thor?
So that's something. Okay, music of Thor was interesting.
Did it stand out at all to you?
Not incredibly.
Okay.
Right. It wasn't like, oh, this is like phenomenal. But I remember like the scenes like at the end, like a lot of the big like panning shots of like Asgard. I can okay, this all makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. Like we're panning Asgard. Like this sounds how I would think it would.
Yeah. I think when we first see Asgard, I wrote down music kind of fire ?
Yeah.
I think it's very orchestral and very grand. That's a good word. Which I thought was pretty nifty.
Yeah, I think it's awesome for that movie. One of the biggest first things I loved about this movie as a concept is that this is the first movie in the MCU that's not all based on Earth.
Yeah.
Right? And so they had to figure out how to establish magic and the other 9 realms and how they all intertwine and how it all, they had to connect all the dots and make it make sense for the audience.
Yeah.
And I think they do a great job of that.
Yeah, and especially in the first phase of the MCU, it's very science-based. We get Iron Man and Hulk, gamma radiation.
Yeah.
And even in this movie, we get like Jane and Selvig, who are astrophysicists. But also we get mystical elements of Asgard and the 9 realms, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And Thor does mention that. Like, he says something along the lines of, your ancestors called it science, but we call it magic, or something like that on the roof.
Yeah, and then Jane, when she's arguing with Selvig about it, she says that, isn't magic just science we don't yet understand?
Yeah.
And that was a really good line of that movie. I think Jane's really good at this movie.
Yeah. Okay. I have a pretty interesting question to ask you. And that we might jump around in this movie, but I think this is a good question.
All right.
Do you think Odin is a good dad?
Yes.
That's it?
Yeah.
You think Odin's a good
I
dad?
think Odin's a good dad.
Do you think basically kidnapping Loki and keeping that his basically kidnapping of Loki a secret makes him a good dad?
Well, I mean, I think that of like the orphanage system, right? Like stuff like that. I mean, like this kid didn't really have like anywhere else to go realistically. Like his dad,
taken.
he was found in a temple.
Yeah.
Right? Like his parents were probably dead.
I guess they don't really have.
Or no, like his Leve's Loki's dad.
Laufey, yeah.
Laufey, same thing.
Yeah. I guess Leve didn't. Laufey didn't want. You got me. Didn't want Loki.
Yeah, because they're just. I mean, like if you think about it, even like sure they're not humans, but like kings had so many kids, so it's like
there's no frost giant orphanage. I don't think.
Exactly. They just kind of get like I remember. This is a really random thought. I remember watching like the Jotunheim scenes.
Yeah.
And like thinking, what do these guys eat? This place sucks. Like I remember just being so confused.
Yeah.
At the, like how Jotunheim looks. Because Jotunheim isn't always like throughout mythology and like other like media isn't always portrayed as like a frost giant exclusive thing, right? Sure, maybe we don't get to see all of Jotunheim, but Jotunheim has multiple different.
We know that there's that one giant beast fella who like breaks out of the ice.
Yeah, that was a really cool scene,
and that's like in the first few minutes.
That was really cool. Yeah.
Do they eat the giant beast fellas? Maybe. I don't know. Okay. In Thor, how do you think the gods age? Because we see like little Loki, or we see baby Loki, and then we see little Loki, and then little Thor, and we see a young Odin, and then now he's like ancient.
I think very differently.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
But they definitely do.
Because I think that like you could say that, well, because in the beginning of the movie, they talked about how the Asgardians pretty much almost stepped in for Midgard and Earth to save the humans, stuff like that. And that's when a lot of the like mythology had started. So I would pretty much think, if you think about it, like Thor and Loki were probably that age around that. That was before Thor and Loki, because Odin tells that story to them as almost in like a past tense kind of thing, right? So that wasn't an ongoing issue. Or no. The whole first Frost Giant War.
Oh, I was talking.
Odin.
Yeah, I was talking about. Yeah.
Hear me out. So that whole war happened before Thor and Loki were that age, right? So I would take the time just about, because it depends on how much time's before that war and when Thor and Loki are that old. That's what it depends on. And so in Thor, I think the age based off of kind of like when we see like first the Nordic times with like Vikings and stuff to now, I think that's how much time has passed on Earth as according in relation to how much time has passed in Asgard, I think.
How old do you think? Well, I don't know how old Chris Hemsworth is, but when he shot this movie, but he was about about 10. And Loki and Thor were about 10 when they were telling this story. Maybe younger a little bit.
8 to 10, maybe 7 at the youngest.
And I think, what would you say Thor's at now? Like upper 20s?
Mid to upper 20s, I would say.
Younger. Oh,
I wouldn't go 30s, but I would say mid to upper 20s.
So maybe a year is 100 years. A year for Asgard is
I'd have to see the numbers, man.
around there, you would think.
Maybe
That's about like years.
From Vikings to now.
Well, if it's, I don't know. It would be about
If you take like Vikings to present, then figure out how much time.
Yeah. We could crunch the numbers.
Yeah.
But are we going to?
But I remember my thing with that was that how does Odin, a god, die of age? Like,
I don't think he dies of age. I think he goes into Odin's sleep.
yeah, Odin's because he comes back later on.
Right.
Yeah, but everyone was like, "Oh, he's gonna die. He's not gonna make it." Like,
Oh no!
like, dude, I think he's just taking a nap, bro. Like,
He's just a little tired. So we see the frost giants. What do you think? How do you think that scene looks?
typically I'm not a fan of like all the like CGI monsters chasing after people,
Yeah,
but I think the scene with like the big monster breaking the ice was pretty freaking cool.
it was pretty cool.
Right? And there's this whole thing about Thor's choreography that I'll go back into later.
Yeah.
But the part where he's like, oh, there's just too many of these guys. He starts whipping the hammer around.
Oh, man.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
They're like trying to embrace this magic thing, and it's working pretty well in this movie.
It makes me think a lot of Yondu's arrow in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies,
Kind of.
where he whistles and like he controls the arrow. Do you think? Well, this might be a silly question, but Mjolnir. I don't know how familiar you are with Yondu's arrow, but Mjolnir versus Yondu's arrow, based on stats, do you think?
Mjolnir.
You think so?
Yeah, forged in the heart of a dying star.
Well, probably strength would probably go.
Are we serious?
But the speed of Yondu's
If you
arrow is
threw Mjolnir and Yondu's arrow at each other,
well,
Mjolnir's gonna win.
yeah, that's fair.
Efficiency, probably Yondu's arrow.
Yeah,
because it can just trail through. Like it's not. He doesn't have to throw it, grab it back, throw it again.
Yeah.
Right. But because
but strength is probably.
Yeah, because
Let's see what you guys think.
Yeah, I'm not okay. Yondu's arrow or Mjolnir.
Yeah, let us know. Yondu's arrow or Thor's Mjolnir. Let us know.
Yeah.
In the comments down below. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Anyway, which also brings me to, I have another question for you, Ethan. How many of Thor's friends can you name? And I'll give you.
I got Lady Sif.
One of them is a relative. I'll count Thor's relative. To basically, who do you know? Who can you name who went to Jotunheim?
Okay, Loki went.
Okay. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5, not counting Thor.
Okay, so Loki went.
Mhm.
Lady Sif.
Listen.
It's this guy. It's like a really British name. Starts with a G.
No.
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 Okay, but okay, you got those two. This is gonna sound really bad, but later in the movie they call the Asian guy Jackie Chan. He went.
Yeah. But what's his name?
His name? People, these characters don't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No, they don't.
You're missing the Warriors 3 is what is there.
The Warriors 3.
They
Yeah.
mention.
I couldn't tell you their names.
They mention 2 of these guys once, and one of these guys twice.
I have no idea.
Okay, it's Volstagg.
Yeah,
I
Volstagg.
think he's the guy with the beard.
Yeah.
Volstagg.
Help mistake my appetite for
Yeah, that guy. Sif, Fandral, Hogan, and Loki are the guys that. fellas that went.
dude.
You're not gonna guess Fandral. Yeah,
Dude, Fandral, bro. I should have known. Heck no, dude. These guys don't do anything in this movie.
fine.
I think they're stupid.
And Sif comes up a lot too.
I like all the little like character mentions of this movie.
Yeah.
Like I like Lady Sif in this movie. I like Destroyer in this movie. Like I like all these little kind of like Jane Foster. Like we're starting to like build up this kind of stuff in these characters, and then like what's freaking is the scientist's name? Selvig, yeah. He's in oh my gosh.
Avengers, yeah.
He's in Avengers.
Yeah.
It's
a big role in it.
Yeah, he's a big part of Avengers. Has a pretty cool ending credit scene. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that Yeah. My problem with this movie is a lot of it is forgettable.
Oh, okay.
Like, when it comes into this movie, it's one of the ones that I'm just kind of like, eh.
That's crazy because like 2 weeks ago you said you're a big Thor guy.
Dude, I love Thor, but this movie's just rough.
You think so?
I think so too.
That might lead into my next question, or it might help another person's case. Anyway, Hulk VFX or Thor VFX?
There's some in Thor and I was like, wow, that's bad.
Yeah, but it's also 2011.
Yeah,
And
but which is after Hulk, granted.
Yeah, but it also, I mean, remember
In a bigger budget, I think.
how Hulk looks.
Yeah.
Imagine, I think
Thor takes it. I think Thor wins.
But imagine how good Hulk would have been if it was made by the same VFX people with the same budget, with the same time, with the same machinery and all.
Like, for me, the biggest problems with Hulk weren't the VFX problems.
You
Like,
think so?
those weren't the biggest problems for me.
Yeah.
But back to Thor.
Yeah. What do you think? Loki's valid. He was low key getting bullied in this movie before he kind of like stood up for himself.
I don't know. Like, I definitely love Loki's character in this movie. Loki, Thor, and Odin are great in this movie, and I love all the three of them. Right? I think they do a great job. Their actors are phenomenal, and they have some awesome lines in this movie,
yeah.
and deliver amazing performances. Like Odin, when he's like, "You're not king,"
Yeah.
like that line delivery he had was just so good.
Yeah.
But I think Loki, as a character, makes Thor look really stupid.
Well, Thor is a little stupid.
He is a little stupid because even like when they're going through like the Norse mythology, but they're like, "Oh yeah, it's Loki, god of mischief and lies."
Yeah.
And you're in Thor, and whenever Thor finds out Loki betrayed him, he's like, "I should have seen this coming."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's a god of mischief and lies. Of
Yeah.
course, you should have seen it coming.
Yeah.
But I think Loki just loves to gaslight people in this movie.
Yeah.
He just loves to gaslight people.
Got him gaslighting.
Yeah, literally, just give the god a gaslighting title. I mean, but it is interesting to see him like manipulate the actions of other people throughout this movie. And at first, you're like, "Oh, this guy's like a pretty like he's being on," because people going into this don't know everything that we know,
Yeah.
right? So like go time traveling back there and being like, "What does this look like?" You think he's a pretty like good brother at the start of the movie, and then you kind of start to realize over time that like, wait a minute, this whole like coup kind of like I'm taking the throne thing is starting to happen.
When you really notice it when Odin's in Odin's sleep and Loki's on the throne talking to Volstagg and the other Warriors 3 and Sif, how intimidating and kind of fed up Loki is with being made fun of being kind of lesser than other people. And then when you find out that he's not Odin's son by blood, but by kidnapping, I'm like, oh man.
I mean, you kind of assume that much earlier in the movie, right?
Yeah.
When they're on Jotunheim and they like, and Volstagg is like, "Don't touch them."
Yeah.
And then the one grabs Loki's hand, and like nothing happens.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Wait a minute, this is like totally fun. Like, what's going on here?"
Yeah.
And so I think we kind of start to get this idea that Loki isn't Odin's son.
Yeah.
Right. And like in mythology checks that out, right?
Mhm.
Like he is not like Loki's always a giant.
Yeah.
In mythology, right? So he's not directly related to Odin, but I even just like seeing Thor and Loki in the same room, right? Because Thor's red and silver does a really good job against
Green and
Loki's green and gold. Yeah, and so I think Loki and Odin just do great performances and are really interesting and well done characters in this movie.
Yeah. You were mentioning the costuming for this movie. It's really good.
It's great.
It's amazing.
It's phenomenal. Like even Odin's spear looks great.
Yeah.
It looks so cool. Like the Bifrost with Heimdall. Oh my gosh, Heimdall is so good in this movie. He has so many like just cold one-liners in his movie, and they're all so good. Idris Elba, man.
Yeah, he's coming in with it,
Dude, heck
the acting in this movie is really well done. It's a I mean, you say it's forgettable, but when I'm watching this movie, I'm kind of taken aback about comparing it to some of these other movies. I mean, in Iron Man, you've got some good, strong, like 3 characters, but in this, everybody's really good with their, like Darcy. Even Darcy plays to her character really, really well.
Yeah. And plays her character really well means I also did find her annoying.
Yeah.
Throughout the film.
The character's annoying.
Yeah.
Speaking of annoying, Thor is annoying in this movie, especially in the beginning. Before he goes to Earth, I'm like, dude, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think Thor's really important for the rest of the MCU. And in this movie, we kind of, like, if you think about it, this is the only time Thor's like this in the whole MCU.
Yeah.
Right? So after this movie, his character completely changes.
Yeah.
Right? And so this, like...
And will continue to change.
Yeah.
The Thor we have now in the MCU as of the time we're recording this, he's completely different from the Thor that we did in the start of this movie. Yeah, is that for that?
Well, and like even like with Thor's choreography throughout this movie, right? This is something I brought up earlier.
Yeah.
Is that in the beginning of the movie, he fights like a barbarian.
Yeah.
Right? He's barbaric. He's trying to be flashy with it, show off. Like
He goes through the mouth of this beast.
yeah, and even when he's on Earth before he tries to get to pick up Mjolnir and fails, he's still Mjolnir. He's fighting like a barbarian.
Yeah.
Right? But then afterwards, after he's deemed worthy again, he's a little bit more just to the point. Like he starts trying to be this flashy, like superhero kind of guy, and just tries to be a protector of people.
Yeah.
Which is what makes him worthy.
Yeah.
You know?
For the hammer.
Yeah, and so there's that really interesting kind of choreography shift in between the two, like before and after of Thor being worthy.
Yeah. Speaking of this worthy, we watch as Odin casts Thor out and then casts Mjolnir out with the curse. What would you call it?
Like I would call it a curse or a blessing. It's just like
Casting is
with a spell.
a conjuring. I don't know.
Cast a little spell.
he casts a little smell on the
He
hammer.
whispers sweet nothings to the hammer and shucks it down to Midgard.
Literally. And I really like this scene where we find the hammer and this guy comes up, he tries to pull it and he's like, huh. And he brings his buddies, they're grilling on the grill.
I couldn't tell you which guy it is, but one of the guys is actually one of the most like dedicated comic writers for Thor.
What? Yeah, I didn't know that.
One of the guys, there's one guy that's just Coulson who also wrote a lot of Thor comics.
Yeah.
And I wish I knew their names, but I still know their names.
Yeah. Well, we can put it in. It'll be on the screen.
Yeah, in post. But one of the guys that tries to pull the hammer is one of the most respected Thor comic writers.
Wow.
And that's a cool cameo, I think. Yeah.
Speaking of, Stan Lee's in it.
Yeah, that's a funny cameo.
Yeah, I think he's driving this truck.
Mm-hmm.
He says something, I don't remember. But then his truck bed falls off.
Yeah, so he's trying to tie a chain around the hammer, pull it, and his whole truck bed just flies off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember the last time we saw him in Iron Man. I guess I could look at my notes, but that might take a while.
Yeah.
But last time I checked, he was not in New Mexico. So I'm trying to track this character. If we can think of Stan Lee as a single character, there's a bunch of theories that he's a watcher.
Yeah, he's like the
yeah. But he jumps around across different timelines and all this. But I think it'd be really fun for us to do maybe deep dive later on to track
Where's Waldo of Stan Lee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To track on how he got from, because we saw him drink Bruce Banner's blood in Hulk, and now he's in the back of a truck bed or driving a truck.
Yeah.
So I think that I really enjoy Stan Lee while he's in these movies. It's just such a fun cameo.
It really is.
Okay, I have another question to ask us.
Okay.
How do you think Coulson knows about the hammer? Because Jane was there basically.
Yeah.
Went and runs over Thor. But in the Thor movie, what do you think Coulson has or knows about to get to Hammer?
Probably like you probably have like monitors of like weather activity. I think it's the same way that we find meteorites that crash, right?
But what makes this different?
That it's what looks like to be a hammer and no one can move it.
Yeah.
And like, all that word spreads around quickly.
Yeah.
Right. This is 2011. We're not really sure when this movie's set, but
Probably
there, yeah, like there's probably some sort of people talking about it online. Like that's definitely a thing that's happening. And
everybody's on TikTok. Whoa, I can't pick up this hammer.
Forget the hammer challenge.
Pick up the hammer challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's probably just like a word of mouth thing.
Yeah.
And they probably like because like Jane said earlier that she could predict these like occurrences by the second.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's obviously some kind of science stuff picking out when these things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And so she can figure it out. I'm sure Coulson and the entirety of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. Probably one of the biggest secret organizations.
Yeah.
I mean, by the government ever.
Yeah. Exactly.
I get that. Let's see. Oh, so when S.H.I.E.L.D. basically takes all of Jane's stuff, after Thor got ran over by the car and yada yada.
Yeah.
Selvig is talking about a scientist that he knows, who was taken by, a scientist that he knows taken by S.H.I.E.L.D. from, and his profession was in gamma radiation.
Yep. I got that.
Do you think that's Bruce Banner?
That's Bruce Banner.
Okay.
Then I mean that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Right. Like if they were trying to not make a Bruce Banner, I wouldn't think they would say scientist stolen by S.H.I.E.L.D. and gamma radiation.
Do you think
those three things make Hulk?
Sure. Do you think it could have also been Stern? Because that would also make sense, because we know in Captain America Brave New World that Stern is taken and put in a prison by Ross.
I think that's, yeah, but I would say that they probably recruited Banner to like the Avengers Initiative by this point. I think that they've probably brought in Banner to figure out where you're doing this thing. I think Stern is just, because in Captain America Brave New World, they make it seem like Stern is just held hostage by Ross the whole time.
Yeah.
And not people don't really know about this.
Sure.
And so I'm more inclined to believe that it's Hulk still.
Yeah. We do see in Avengers, Natasha goes to collect Bruce Banner, because he's on the run or something like that.
Yeah.
So we can assume, and we'll cover this back when we do Avengers here in a couple weeks, but I think it's fair to assume that it is Banner. How do you think they know each other, Selvig and Banner?
Just through like research papers and stuff like that.
You think they're in a scientist club?
Dude, I think that
they're in a group chat.
I think that with like all these research papers, like back in the day before like the internet, you would diss other people through your like research papers.
So
yeah,
Banner
pretty much you would release like a paper and be like, yeah, so all this work by this person was just absolutely wrong. And you just like name drop people in your research papers.
Bruce Banner.
It's so funny. Yeah. But like then again, it's like a scientific community. They all like, science is off for the sake of like sharing research and discovery and stuff like that. So
yeah. Cool. So there is on the same kind of area, like when they're talking about Banner, Darcy says that they took her iPod.
They stole my iPod, yeah.
Which is so funny, but it also really dates the movie.
It does.
Which I think is fun.
Yeah.
Because rewatching these movies, thinking about it in maybe chronological order, you can really start to track that this movie is made in 2011 and it's supposed to be made in 2011 and set in 2011. Because as we progress in a few weeks, we are doing Captain America, the first Avenger. It's a very period piece.
Yeah.
It's set in the 1940s, and you can tell it's in the 1940s. And when we go into Captain Marvel, it's set in, I think, the 90s, late 80s, 90s. And you can tell there's a blockbuster in that movie.
Yeah.
And having these kind of dated items of technology like an iPod, it really improves the overall continuity of the MCU, I think. Do you agree?
I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I think that the way that they have constructed the timeline throughout these movies has been really great.
Yeah.
Like, there's times you can be like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. And when you get into Endgame and Infinity War, it gets a little like jumbled a little bit. Because once you hit like the multiverse phase and you're like, okay,
When are we? When in the world are we?
yeah, that's when like some people like have to take a huge step back and be like, I do not understand this.
Yeah.
And so, but I think as of right now, like this is the 4th movie, right? We're still down to earth. We're in Asgard, but we're down to earth,
Got
right?
The Midgard.
It for a reason. No, but I do think that they do a great job at, well, like, I mean, even just going back through these movies, it's a little like a nostalgia rush. But you also can kind of watch how like technology slowly improves over time.
Yeah.
So eventually we'll get to like Doctor Strange, and then you're like, dude, the VFX have
even in Avengers, we're gonna see some
like the portals and stuff like that. Yeah.
Craziness. Okay, so they decide that they're gonna break back in and maybe take Jane's stuff back and maybe grab Mjolnir. And we see a pretty cool fight scene of Thor kind of running through all these shields.
Yeah. And then we keep watching Thor just like straight up just barbarian.
This
like,
is without his powers.
I know, he's just a man that knows how to fight at this point. And he's still like being flashy with it and being barbaric and just like drop kicking people. That was so fun. That was a really cool shot. And then we get like this like almost first person view of somebody looking at all these guns, and then they grab the bow. And that was a really cool, like, it took me a minute. I was like, wait, what are we? Oh, and we had our first cameo from
Hawkeye. Yeah. So Hawkeye, Clint Barton appears in this movie for the first time. A famous Avenger. We talked about it in our last episode, how we think Natasha being introduced in Iron Man 2, does that diminish the character before we see her in Avengers? And we had this conversation. You can look at it. It's probably up in one of the corners. It's a great episode. Go look at it. But we talk about how maybe we want a Hawkeye and Black Widow solo movie.
Yeah.
Between maybe Avengers and probably Thor would be a good spot to release it, or would have been a good spot to release it, because we know they have a history, and they're both introduced in 2 different movies, and there's no really character building until Avengers.
I mean, heck, like I think it'd be even better to put it in between Hulk and Thor.
So
you can put it like probably you can try to put it after Iron Man 2 if you went before Thor, and you can have the 2 of them go and get Bruce Banner.
Oh, yeah.
Right, it's like a hunt. It's like a hunting. Like this is our guy, and you can show him fighting him a little bit. You can start to develop Bruce Banner and Natasha's relationship, right? Something like that. And that'd be really interesting.
I think if you see them going to get Bruce Banner, it would have been maybe an end credit scene or something. Because that also contributes to what Selvig said about them taking Bruce Banner and never heard of again. I think that would have been a really cool shot.
Yeah, it would have been a cool thing to do.
But considering we are a Marvel channel, I have to talk about the comics. I guess so.
Gosh darn it.
But Hawkeye first appears in Tales of Suspense, according to Wikipedia. Tales of Suspense number 57 in 1964, which is pretty. It's the Silver Age of comics. So, I think, and he's purple in this, and we don't really see him with his comic accurate suit ever in the MCU.
Yeah, it kind of looks goofy to begin with.
It looks really goofy, but also it's the comics, and a lot of things look goofy. I mean, look at Loki. He's got these big horns,
Okay, but the horns are so cool though.
Yeah, I think some sort of purple would have been fitting, I think, eventually. And we
Doesn't he have it in like his like
he does have a little bit of purple.
He does get it eventually over time.
But nothing like a mask or anything.
No.
But he does still hide his ability or his agentness. He's very secretive, and we see that throughout all of Marvel. Which, yeah, I'm a big Hawkeye fan. He was one of my first favorite Avengers.
No, why is Hawkeye your favorite Avenger?
I didn't say he was my favorite Avenger, but I think he's like when I first saw the Avengers movie, and I recognized who Hawkeye was, I immediately gravitated towards him for some reason. I got into archery, and because of Hawkeye, at like, I don't know, 6 maybe. And I don't know. Clint Barton has my heart. Okay,
I don't know why.
You diss on my Hawkeye.
No, I don't diss on Clint Barton at all, or on his actor. I just think Hawkeye's a very interesting character. At least they don't make him out to be in the movie.
Yeah, he's a guy with a bow and arrow, and they make fun of him for it, which he deserves, which is fun.
But I do like that scene though a lot that he's in.
Yeah, why do you think he's there in the first place?
I think
besides being an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I think just being an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and just kind of like when this random artifact falls out of the sky that no one can pick it up, I would assume someone's gonna come back for it, right? And so that's kind of like your defense against it, or like your last big hitter.
Yeah.
But I like a lot of parts of that scene, especially when he's like, "Coulson, tell me to pull the trigger, or I'm starting to root for this guy."
Yeah.
Right. Like that's really funny.
Yeah.
And then Coulson's like, "What? I want to see what happens here."
Mm-hmm.
Or he's like, "Let him cook now. I want to see what he's gonna get up to."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
It just shows how like inquisitive and curious Coulson is about this whole thing. It makes him more, I don't know, because a lot of people with have superpowers, or we see in the comics and in other media, can be kind of shunned by society. Because like you have Thing and the X-Men and the mutants, they kind of just get shunned the whole time, right? But we kind of established really early on that Coulson is like really into working with these people.
Yeah, he's pro superhero.
Yeah.
Super Coulson.
Let's go Coulson.
Let's see. Thor. He speaking on this, when he tries to grab the hammer, he yells a lot, and he does that a lot in this movie in general.
Yeah.
And I don't really know how I feel about it. Maybe it's very Viking-y.
It is, and I also think that in that one scene in particular where he started staring at the sky and yelling, it just felt really out of place.
Yeah.
That just did not feel necessary.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're pushing like we're trying to hit the 2-hour mark, or like what we're trying to do there, but
hit the 2-hour mark by 30-second long
by yelling. Yeah, like that just doesn't make sense to me. And this is completely really random, but whenever he's trying to pull that hammer, his biceps look huge. Like this is prime Chris Hemsworth around here. Like he's
not Fat Thor yet.
No, he's not Fat. We're a long ways away from Fat Thor.
For sure. So speaking on this like yelling, I think it could also be kind of like that's just how Asgardians could be. Like that's true. Like it could just be their, I don't know, culture is they're frustrated, they're full of like emotion, and they're not like gonna go see a therapist. They're gonna express their true raw feelings. Yeah. Because it's very Viking-y, like I was saying. So I guess we could give him a pass at that. I think we could give him.
But it still feels awkward.
Well, are you Asgardian?
Okay, but from a movie standpoint,
it's weird.
It's a little bit much.
I'm trying to defend him for his sharing his emotions.
I mean, heck yeah, dude. Men sharing their emotions. That's
also, there's no roof over the hammer. Out of every single room in this base is covered except for the hammer.
Well, it's probably because they have to do their best to like to contain it, but not like interfere with it. You know what I mean? Like it's a crime scene, but like they're trying to like protect it a little bit, but also investigate it. But because like they're not gonna like start like shooting stuff at it.
Yeah,
right.
Blow it up.
Yeah, not gonna like off rip at least. That isn't gonna be their first like attempt.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Also, when they capture Thor after he yells his battle cry. We see Loki just appear, and we know he can make clones of himself, but I didn't know that he could do this across realm.
Well, you don't even know if it's a clone of himself, right? Because we found out later that Loki's the guy that lets these frost giants into Asgard. And so there's obviously ways that Loki can move people in and out of the realms, period.
Without using the Bifrost, yeah.
Yeah, right? And so that could very well just be him there.
Yeah.
And in this scene with Loki in it, A, he's fitted. Like, his outfit is amazing in this scene.
Yeah.
B, we start to kind of see the God of Mischief lies start to come out, where he's like, hey, dude, love ya. Hate to see you here. Pops, he's done kicking the can. Moms want you to come home. You're kicked out of the house.
Yeah.
Essentially. And all these kind of lies that, in which Thor just kind of sits there and just like, thanks, dude. Farewell.
And he's so genuine about it.
Yeah.
I think this is really where we kind of see Thor's turning point of, man, I wasn't worthy.
Yeah, I messed up.
How can I fix this?
Yeah.
Which brings us into the scene with the Destroyer, where Sif and the Warriors 3 try and bring Thor back.
Yeah.
After they kind of sneak past. I'm doing, for our audio listeners, I'm doing quotation marks. Sneak past the gate.
With another great line from Idris Elba.
Yeah.
It's something like, are you trying to be traitors against the direct commands of your king? Yeah. Good. Let's go.
Good job. So, and then Loki sends the Destroyer, which is honestly an epic scene. The CGI looks really good.
Yeah, the CGI, that's where I think most of the budget for the CGI this movie went, was the Destroyer.
Maybe Marvel is just really good at making metal suits. You think that?
Someone does ask if it's an Iron Man suit.
Yeah.
Like someone,
Is it one of Stark's or something like that?
Yeah, is this one, it's close to that, is this one of Stark's things?
And then that guy tells him, no. Yeah.
Maybe he's like, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
They all drive Acuras, strangely enough.
Yeah. There's some consistency.
Yeah.
But the Destroyer in comics is pretty. It's a reappearing villain-ish. So he first appears in Journey into Mystery number 118 in 1965. So about 1 year after Hawkeye, and we're coming up on the Destroyer's 60th birthday.
Let's go. Destroyer turning 60. See the gray hairs coming in. He's not thinking about retirement.
Yeah.
Could I hang up the metal?
Happy birthday, Destroyer. I just thought that was nice. But the Destroyer was originally used exactly, basically, like he is in this Thor movie.
Yeah.
Where Loki is frustrated as always, and sends the Destroyer after Thor to go kill him, which I think is like, okay, awesome. Thank you, Kenneth, for reading the comics, being comic accurate with kind of a minor villain, and holding true, which I appreciate as a comic.
Because they use Destroyer at the start of the movie as this like guardian kind of thing inside of their weapons room, which has some crazy things in it. Like it has the casket of ancient or fallen warriors in it, which is like the Frost Giant item. The Eye of Agamotto's in there, and the Infinity Gauntlet's in there.
Yeah,
which they later retconned and like fixed.
Yeah,
but you're like, whoa, wait, what's that?
Yeah,
right. And so you're just like the Infinity Gauntlet being there that early is like, whoa. So that technically is our first like hint at Thanos.
Yeah,
or you consider the Tesseract being that, but I would consider the glove, the gauntlet, to be more so the hint at Thanos. But also like the Eye of Agamotto, like which we see in Doctor Strange, how that like whole thing changes. But yeah, and then he just says, all right, go kill Thor. And so then after that, we get the scene where Destroyer is messing up the Warriors 3. Yeah, the Warriors 3 stood a 0% chance against this thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? In the scene even where Civ is stabbing it from behind and it spins his whole body around. That is so good.
It looks epic.
That's where all the budget for the VFX went.
It looks, I wouldn't say that because Asgard looks amazing too.
Right, I mean that's like for the CGI stuff like that. That's definitely where that whole budget went.
Yeah. And it looks like a Rubik's cube.
Yeah.
How like fluid it is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. It looks so
It looks really cool. And we have this moment where this is like the moment where Thor becomes worthy.
Yeah.
Right? He says, all right, my friends are going to die. Everything I've done here is going to be completely wiped out. I just got to take this one.
Yeah. He said, like, take me, Loki. Don't worry about any of them. It's me you want. And true worthiness, sacrifice of yourself. Yeah. Good for Thor.
Yeah. And so then Thor dies.
Yeah.
And then you see the hammer start flying. And I'm like, so like, it is like, okay, the hammer revives Thor,
Basically.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and you can say, oh, he was just resting his eyes on the brink of death. Yeah, sure, but he was dead. Like, sure, be honest here. So Thor
It
dies.
gives him the powers of Thor. So.
Yeah. So Thor dies. Thor Odinson dies. And then the hammer comes, decides he's worthy, and gives him the powers of Thor.
Yeah.
And so now we see Thor back in black, back in action, right? And we get this really cool scene of him fighting the Destroyer, and then tells Jane, I'll come back for you.
Yeah.
And then him and all the boys go back to see what Loki
And Sif.
and Sif and the Lady Sif go back to Asgard and see what the heck Loki's been doing.
Yeah. And it's pretty classic. Actually, I don't know. So we see that I think it is Laufey that tries to kill Odin.
Yeah, because Loki invites him to.
Yeah, and then Loki stabs him, as Loki does.
I don't think Loki originally intended to do that.
You don't think that?
I think when Loki made that deal with him, he didn't plan on it.
You think it was?
I think he was genuine, and I think that because he knew Thor was going to come back, he needed to get something else on his like trophy case for his father. Right? He's like, oh, not only did I destroy Jotunheim, I also saved your life.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that was a desperate like scramble to try and like say, oh, I felled the king of the frost giants, right? Like make me the king, right? I think that was a like a quick honesty, like, okay, I gotta get something else here. Thor's coming back. What can I do? Kill the king of the frost giants. And like, yeah.
You don't think this is mischievous of Loki?
I mean, it could be, but just by the nature of it and how it didn't seem so planned. Like from the rest of the movie, he didn't seem as cold calculated in this moment. He seemed a little bit in a panic. And I think that makes a lot of sense.
You see kind of a heartfelt Loki, that there is still good in Loki, which we eventually do see throughout a couple of movies. But we also see, like in the next time we see Loki, that he is very powerful and mischievous. And but I would not say that Loki is evil. I think he's just he wants to be recognized. He's a lost soul, I think, is what I would describe it as. So, okay, we see that happen, and then we are teleported basically to the final battle scene.
Yeah, where Thor's mad, and Loki's even more angry, and they're ready to go at it. Yeah. And so we see this really cool scene of like Loki using Odin's spear, he's trying to be his dad in this movie a lot of the time, right? And so we see Loki with Odin's spear fighting Thor with Mjolnir. And it's kind of the like blunt edge or sharp edge kind of battle we have. And we get this really cool scene on the bridge.
The Rainbow Bridge.
Where Loki has all these clones around Thor on the ground, all laughing at him maniacally. It's such a cool, like, interesting scene to look at. And then Thor yells enough, and this lightning strikes, and they all vanish. It's just a really, really cool.
That I don't know, action of Loki getting cloned by himself it was a lot like, for me at least, the Destroyer turning around, where I'm like, whoa.
That was those are the top tier scenes in this movie.
And we do see Loki teleport, like, do the cloning a lot, but it was right then, and I guess when he was like, save me, and then teleports right behind him. That was pretty cool too. But then I guess really the final blow to basically the whole Odinson family is when Loki is holding on to Odin's staff, and Odin's there, right? So he's looking at his adopted father and his adopted brother, and lets go and falls into nothingness. And for the first time, not the last, but Loki is dead. It's a reoccurring theme that is Loki really dead.
He's never really dead.
Yeah. But then he falls into the abyss. And after Thor destroys the Bifrost, right? With his cool hammer, Mew. And we see this feast of, in one of the last scenes of maybe a celebration. But Thor's not the same. He's thinking of what he's done. He's thinking of Jane and thinking of Loki. Yeah, thinking of Loki and longing for what he had. And it's a really heartwarming ending for a kind of arrogant guy.
Yeah.
Talk about
Full circle.
Yeah, talk about character arc.
Yeah, because after this movie, he's never the same.
Yeah. Thor, from start to finish, different, and we see that, and we can tell that how he's changed for the better.
Yeah, many people go into this movie like, I don't have a reason to care about Thor, and they left being like, I kind of care about this now.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, now we can get into our post-credit scene.
Yeah.
We're in Shield base.
Yep.
Or I guess before this, we should say that Selvig, Jane, and Darcy all got Shield jobs.
Yeah.
Darcy got a Shield job.
Mopping the floors.
Good for her.
Mopping the floors.
But Selvig is in a Shield base, meets up with Fury, and sees the Tesseract. That's our namesake. Our first time seeing an Infinity Stone in the MCU. We saw a sketch of it in Howard Stark's notebook. But here it is, the blue cube, the Tesseract, in all of its glory.
Yeah. And that reminded me of a little fun fact about this movie is that we know, kind of looking forward a little bit, when the village that they find, that Hydra Hitler finds it in the, like, that little town, is the same town they showed at the beginning of Thor. The Nordic town. They're the same place.
What?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's really connecting.
I know. It's all one big thing. It's some world building that no one really notices, but it's there.
I didn't know that.
It's there.
Look at us. It's like we're running a Marvel podcast.
I know. It's like we know what we're doing or something.
And then Selvig turns over and sees Loki in the reflection. And you're like, oh, he's not dead. Oh, he's alive. It was 15 minutes. I thought he was dead.
Oh, I thought he was gone forever.
Which definitely flows into the events of Avengers.
Yeah.
I mean, especially the Tesseract we do see in the next movie, Captain America, the First Avenger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we go?
I think we're ready to
get reality ranking.
Yeah, I think we're ready.
Okay, let's hit it to the reality rankings. So you should be able to see it for our video viewers, like somewhere over here, as always. And we're looking down here and seeing it. So where are we gonna put this movie? Oh man. All right, where do you think it should go? I think definitely above Incredible Hulk.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Me wanting Iron Man 2 maybe above Iron Man. Thor is so good. But is it as good as... Oh, man. So, there's moments in this movie where I'm like, oh, shoot. This compares to nothing we've seen before.
Yeah.
I definitely think it has more heart than Iron Man. But if we're going solely off of heart, then I don't.
I think this movie, it's not one.
You don't think it's one?
I don't think it's one in my mind.
I think it might be one of importance because this. I mean, first Infinity Stone we see in this movie. First non-Earth setting is in this movie.
Well, we argued the same thing for Iron Man 2. We ended up putting it at 2.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
can restate those reasons again, but I think Thor has some great moments, but they're not consistent. You know what I mean?
No,
right?
But I heard any of these movies like consistently good. Like you were just talking about how in Iron Man 1 it didn't really like hold your attention the entire time.
Well, I mean, it's hard for me to do that. Period. I don't think any movie on this list does that.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are just some daggone boring parts of this movie, right? And I think all of them have that, right? But I think while Iron Man and Iron Man 2 have straight acts that are great, I think Thor has really great moments, right? Yeah. And it wasn't really until the end that I was like, oh, now I'm into this movie, right?
I think a lot of these movies have a really good character arc, especially Iron Man 2 and even Iron Man 1. Mm-hmm. We see that heart of the character.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I think I think
this goes in 2.
You think above Iron Man 2?
I think this is better than Iron Man 2. That's a really hot take, I think, for some people. But I think that Iron Man 2 is great. But I am a little bit biased because I just like Thor. But I also like Iron Man a lot, too. Don't get me wrong. Right? I'm pretty big on both these characters.
I don't see your Asgard shirt, but I saw your Stark Industries.
I have an Asgard shirt this week. But I think my heart wants to give it to Thor.
Yeah.
But
what's keeping it from number 1? I'm curious on like what this boundary of Iron Man at number 1 is.
It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
Like the Iron Man movie, the first Iron Man just does so many things so right.
Yeah.
And it is an icon that has stood the test of time. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Sure.
Hulk has not stood the test of time. You say the same thing for Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 has faded slightly, but the first Iron Man has stood the test of time.
But I think you said that this movie is forgettable. Do you think it's as forgettable as Iron Man 2? I shouldn't say that. The villain in Thor is so much more iconic than any of these villains in any of these other movies.
That's true.
Villain alone, number 1, easily.
Yeah, the villain category gets 1, for sure.
I mean, Loki turns into a iconic character just in cinema.
Yeah.
And Obadiah Stane, who is he?
Do you think this movie should be 1?
I wanted Iron Man 2 to be 1, but I'm okay with putting that 2 for right now. Knowing the movies that we have coming up, I think that number 1 spot is gonna be shifted around, and for at least in the next within the next 6 weeks, we got some pretty hard hitting movies.
Yeah.
So
and even right after that, we have a bunch of hard hitting movies too. Yeah. Also after that.
Yeah.
So
I think
there's a lot of we really start getting into some prime time. Like these are all good movies.
Yeah. Thor is a phenomenal movie. I do think it has elements that do put it above Iron Man, but I don't think
it's enough to justify.
I don't think it's there quite yet. If we in a couple weeks think that, oh shoot, I remember these moments of Thor very fondly. I don't remember a lot of,
because for me at the end of the day, it comes back to I'd rather watch. If you set me down right now and said, "Do you want to watch Iron Man or Thor?" I'd rather watch Iron Man.
Yeah,
right. That's just how it is. Because and granted, Thor, a lot of Thor's great moments come from these really cool scenes and these really funny comedic scenes. Give me another.
Yeah.
Right.
Is Iron Man funny? I would not call that.
Tony Stark's funny. You're telling me Tony Stark isn't funny?
He's sad. He's a sad, rich man.
In Iron Man 2, he's sad. In Iron Man 1, he's funny.
Yeah.
Right?
I think Thor is a funnier movie
than Iron Man 1.
Darcy's really funny. And we're back. Sorry, we had to change out the camera for a little bit. But I do think Thor is okay at number 2.
Yeah, I'm okay with putting Thor at the second spot. I think it and Iron Man 2 are on some pretty equal footing. I think they both have really rich character development stories for both their protagonists. And I think Thor just has a better villain.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And more heart. I would say, yeah. I think Iron Man 2 is a sadder movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if I want to watch a more uplifting movie, I'd definitely choose Thor over Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
So shall we put it over there? Let's see if I can do this right.
Here we go.
Then it.
Free.
There you go. Awesome. So,
Are you sure recording?
what?
Are you recording?
Yeah, I think that would make sense if Iron Man 1 beats out Thor. I'm not too complaining, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I think Thor just there's just so many like random like Dutch shots in this movie that are just really unnecessary.
Yeah.
Right. There's just so many weird things about this movie that just seem kind of extra. But it is a character, looking back on it, and I think it's where it belongs.
Yeah, I don't remember the bad parts. I remember the parts I liked.
Yeah.
Mostly. Unlike Incredible Hulk, where I remember
Everything that was really about this movie. Yeah.
for Hulk. But it's still worth watching. You can watch our video on it, and it's a good one.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's better than you think it is.
But now we have a new segment of the show, our Infinity Odds, where our lovely producer / stage manager Josh has gone ahead in time and watched our
Backwards in time.
ahead backwards in time to watch Captain America: The First Avenger, our next movie, and has given us some prompts for some fun over-unders that we're gonna start doing for our movies here on out. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
So the options, for those who don't know, the options are to go over this number or under this number, and the winner will get a point if they're right, and we'll find out in about 2 weeks when we watch the movie. So our first one is: how many times did Steve Rogers get rejected from joining the military before being accepted? And so the over-under, the baseline, is 7. So 7 times.
I think we should say it at the same time because I don't want to influence your decisions. You know what I mean?
Okay. Now I gotta think.
I know where I'm at on this.
You know.
I know where I'm at.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Over. Okay. All right. So we say over.
We both said the over 7 times.
Josh is looking over here. Okay, next one. How many captured soldiers did Captain America liberate from Hydra base? And you guys can play along too. It'll be fun. Over under baseline is 360.
I think I know where I'm at.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Under. Whoa.
Okay.
Okay. So you say under 360.
Yeah.
I say over. Okay.
And the last
I'm trying to read Josh's face.
The last one says, how many years since anyone had gotten the flag down from boot camp?
So this is the scene where like they're training.
Yeah.
And they got a flag.
Skinny Steve
Yeah.
tears down the pole and grabs it off. So
how many?
Over under 15 years.
Okay.
I know where I'm at here too.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Over. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we say.
So you're over.
I'm over.
I'm over, under, over.
Okay.
We could both if you so long.
So we're over 7.
Over 7 times.
So over 7 times. I'm over on 360 and you're under on.
I'm under 360.
And I'm over on 15 years and you're under on 15 years.
No, I'm over. We're both over.
We're both over. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe I should change my answer there.
This is the first one, and so we don't know how close to actuality these numbers are going to be. So like this says 7 times. We don't know if it's 6 times, 8 times. If it's 16, super close.
Yeah.
Or if it's just it's a random number. Here you go. So we'll slowly get better at these, I think, as time goes on.
Yeah. And this will be fun. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
So we'll do this on every movie. So catch back in in about 2 weeks when we do Captain America: The First Avenger to see how many we get right.
And to see who's gonna win. That's what we all need.
It's gonna be me. It's gonna be me. I'm gonna win. Yeah. So that's all for us. That's all for we hit everything.
Yeah, it's all from us here this week with Thor.
Yeah, catch back in about 2 weeks for Captain America: The First Avenger.
Yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure that you click like, subscribe, bell, you know the jargon,
All the things.
get notified that we're uploaded, and you can find us here on YouTube
and Instagram.
Yeah,
our Instagram is pretty popping. Josh takes care of that too. So if you like any of what Josh does here, you'll love the Instagram.
Yeah, you'll love the Instagram. Make sure you go follow us on there. Give us a post. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. And let us know in the comments below if you have any suggestions. Like, we want to hear what you guys want to hear.
Sure.
So anything you're willing to see, any questions you may have for us, please let us know.
Our over-unders were a suggestion that we took, and we really like it. So we're excited. And stay tuned, because this summer we got some big plans for Tesseract Talk. Like we said, maybe gaming. We might have some guest hosts on. We're pretty excited. So I think that's all for us here.
Yeah.
We're good?
We're good.
All right. Bye.